Welcome back, my children. Continue with this. The Lord did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and of sound mind, right? And we're talking about this virus that have everybody running all over the place, getting this, getting that. So I was just saying, what if Christ was to announce His coming? The church will be rampacked. That's not how God will want it, because the church will be rampacked. It doesn't mean that person's heart is at the right place, you know. And then again, I'm not saying for Christians, because fear, we all have fear in us. And somehow, fear in some sense is a sign of us to be cautious of our whereabouts, our surroundings, and people. But at least at the end of the day, we trust in God, right? To fight our battles for us. So, what I'm saying, to show you an example, I went to the grocery store yesterday, right? I went to Mega Mart and I was armed with this Corona who pick it up, right? I was armed with my sanitizer, and plus, before we enter the supermarket, they have a sanitizer out there for us to get our hands ready, right? And when I came home, we spray up the car and take my clothes off and put it to wash, right? Listen, and when I took the grocery out of the bags, I cleanse them up before I put them in the fridge and in the cabinet, right? And the grocery bags that I travel with, I bleach it off. Okay. So would you think that because I'm doing that, or other person is doing that who is Christian, you look at them and say, I thought you believe in God. Why you don't have to do all this? But no, that is not how it goes. As we always hear say, God help those who help ourselves. Not because we are your child of God, right? And you're serving Him. And you have faith. I have faith in God that I'm protected and my family and those I pray for are protected and send prayers all over the world to protect others too, right? It doesn't mean because we have faith, we're just gonna have faith and sit there not doing anything. No. When David had faith in God, when he went up against Goliath, but he didn't went up against Goliath with his two hands at his side and standing there waiting for God to knock Goliath over. No, God worked through David, and God will allow you to have some form of weapon in your hand to use to kill your enemy, to defeat your enemy. So David's weapon was the sling and the stone and his sword, right? When God uses Moses to part the sea, he had a staff in his hand. And that's what he held over the sea, right? When God is sending the Israelites to fight with Egypt, David and his men, they're going to war, right? They all have on their suit. And they have that, what they call it thing they put on their arm, like to guard. I don't remember it. And they have the sword. They go prepare. When soldiers of today go into war across the world, they in the army suit, they have on their hat, and when they're in the bushes fighting, they put trees over them, cover up. So the fact that you're gonna say, oh, you're a Christian and you're having a sanitizer. I have some people here that a minister have his license gun. They're saying, how can a pastor be carrying a gun? Yeah, still have faith in God, but you have to be armed. You have to have something for God to use to help you, for you to work with, right? So I have faith in God that I'm okay. So I'm not just gonna go downtown with and come back home with my hands and don't cleanse it, because I have faith in God that God gonna save me. No, we're gonna protect ourselves just the same. You understand? So have faith, because a lot of people look at it that way. Because at the end of the day, Some people can be using all these things to cleanse and still catch it and die because some of these people didn't trust in God that to protect them. Because maybe some of these things that we're using is not even so good to protect us. But because we believe in God that when we spray our hands with this and wipe, we use our hand with the sanitizer, that God will actually cleanse it. Is God is doing all of it, right? So I just wanted to touch base on that, just in case if some person may see persons who are Christians out there and they're running around getting things and they say, you're a child of God, you say you go to church, what kind of God you serve, where's your faith? It doesn't mean that they cannot go get their things to protect their home just the same, right? So I just wanted to say that. And another thing now, to share how persons lack faith in God in crisis. God came through for Daniel in the lion's den when they threw him in there. And it was his faith in God that God wouldn't let him die. God shut the mouth of the lion and they couldn't bite Daniel. And when he was younger, he and his friends were in the fire. They threw him. They didn't get burned. That's faith. Joseph was in prison, going through hell, and it was faith that brought him out. Job, just the same. But I want to get into Exodus, right? Exodus 20, Exodus 16 or 15. No, in Exodus, what I wanted to find in Exodus, you guys can read uh, Moses in Exodus, Numbers, I think Genesis. All right, in Exodus 20 and also 16, verse 15, you can find it there. What I'm trying to say is that God uses Moses to go get these people from Egypt, right? So I'm gonna go over in Numbers too, and they didn't have faith that when they reached at the Red Sea and they wanted to go back into Egypt and they were complaining that Moses took them from Egypt for them to die by the hands of the Egyptians because they came across the sea now. There was nowhere else to go, and Pharaoh's army were coming. But it was faith in God. Moses prayed to God, and he heard the Spirit of the Lord saying to use to stretch the staff across over the sea, and he parted the sea, and the slaves were saved. They all crossed, and then God let the sea close back up and kill Pharaoh men and horses, right? Before that, these slaves that God uses Moses to rescue from Egypt, they witnesses the 10 plagues that God, by the hand of the Lord, he placed upon Egypt because Pharaoh wouldn't let his people go. And this is a message I want to come with, that Pharaoh actually, by the first plague, agreed to let the people go. But God hardened Pharaoh's heart 10 times before. And God did so that these Egyptians could see the power of God at play. But that's a different message I want to come to about when God hardened person's heart around us in order for us to go through certain things so that his glory can come through us. So these slaves who were suffering in Egypt for ages, right? And these are the people when Joseph became king in Egypt, he moved his family to Egypt because he was next to the king. Here goes the airplane again. Sorry about that. And and then they were in Egypt suffering. Joseph died, and that king died. Another king rise and realized that these Hebrews, Israelite, that Joseph set up people, right? They were getting too much. And they feared they overthrow them in Egypt. So guess what? They're turning them to slaves. So these are the people, Abraham tribe, that were trapped in Egypt because they moved there to be with Joseph. And because that king died, and another king who were wicked now, turned them into slaves. So now God uses Moses, raised Moses to go free them. And they witness what God put the Egyptian through with these 10 plagues in order to free his people. And they still doubt in God, right? All right, after they part in the sea and they cross and days went by and God provide manna for them to eat. They complain and murmur every day. If this is what God have provide for them every day, they eat in manna. So they're thinking about maybe different type of food they were eating in Egypt while as slave. This is how some people are. They have a saying that you take the hog out of the mud, you cannot take the mud out of the hog. Some people rather live in distress in order to suffice one particular thing that seems livable than go through hell today in order to have happiness tomorrow. Meaning that they settled to be in slavery because they had shelter and they had different choice of food. Never mind the beating that they were getting and all the hard work in the sun and a whole lot of them dying from beating. They don't care about that. They're just thinking about the roof over their head and the better food to eat. Then now they have freedom. Nobody is whipping them. They don't have to answer to anybody. They can go as they please. The only difference is that maybe they have one set of food that God provides for them to eat, a manna. And that would be just for the moment because they were on the journey, traveling to the land that God promises them. But they couldn't hold out, and this is how a lot of people are. You have people out there who would rather sink you, even if they know you have a good heart, that when you reach to the top, just like me, you're going to come back to help them. They don't care about the help you're going to give them. They rather not see you up there. They rather have you in the same level as them, living regular lives. And they stay stuck. And so they keep you stuck. They pull out you to stay back. They don't care about the great help you're going to bring back to them. They couldn't care less about that as long as you don't make it. That is how some people mind is shallow and they don't see as far as they can throw themselves. I have big vision and I can't stay around little people who doesn't dream because they're gonna pull me back because I talk big things. I talk about big that and I can see it in the fear in some of their eyes and the envy just by me talking. I'm not there yet, just to show you. This is the power that God gave me. God did not give me the power of fear. He did not give me the spirit of fear. He gave me the spirit of power, love, and of sound mind. And I'm using it to the best of my abilities for this project. I'm being the best as I can as a spiritual teacher who never been to college. And because I trust in God and He led me to self-taught from ministers I see on the internet and I read my Bible. And that is and that because I fear God. So I fear my God, so I listen to Him leading me what to do, just like I hear the message say, Angia, go do this message about the spirit of fear with the coronavirus is going on around now, and to help some of the people. And I listen and I forget about the messages that I wanted to bring and listen to God and bring this one. Understand? So people fear. So now they're in the wilderness now, right? And just to show you, when God get fed up of people who fear, who don't trust and believe in him. So what happened with Moses and these people that God sent him to free from Egypt, and they're in there. So Moses sent 10 men or 12 men to go spy in the land that God promises them, to see how many men are, how to size it up so they can know to attack, because they're going at war for the land, right? They came back with a complaint. Some of them were complaining and murmur, we cannot take on those men. They have to. Let me find this. This is in Numbers, number 13, verse 27 to 33, and we have first Numbers 14 too. I wanted to nevertheless the people be strong that dwelling in the land. That is Numbers 13, verse 27. And they told him and said, we came unto the land whither thou send us, and surely it flourish with milk and honey, and this is the fruit of it. Nevertheless, the people be strong that dwelleth in the land, and the cities are walled and very great. And moreover, we saw, verse 30, and Caleb still the people before Moses, and said, let us go up at once and possess this, for we are well able to overcome it. But the men that went up with him said, we be not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. And they brought up an evil report of the land which they had searched unto the children of Israel. What this is saying now, this is where God get finally, it finally hit God. When Moses sent these men to go spy out the land to see, to size up what type of people they're going to go up against to fight for the land. I'm going to make this in the next 3 minutes and wrap this up. And they said the land have milk and honey, so it seems like it's a perfect land. The only thing is that the men there, they're so strong, they're full of muscles, so we fear we cannot go up against them. And God said, that's it. That's it, these people, that is the straw that break the camel back. Of course, that's not these words. That's in the Bible. God did not say that's the straw that break the camel back. I'm just saying to God's thought. That's it. That was the last straw for God, because God put up with their murmuring and complaining about the food and the manner, and they wish they were back into Egypt, and now they finally find the land. And for them to go overthrow the men who live on the land that God promises them, they're worried about that these men have big muscles than theirs. And God said, that's it. That's it. I had enough of these ungrateful people. Sorry about that. My video just cut from, just stop, and I have to fix that. So what I was saying, let's get back to what I was saying. Okay. Let me get back to, because I had to pass for a while before I, okay, so what I was saying, when these men who lack faith, and because they went to check about the land, and they saw the men that lived there had bigger muscles, muscular, big, giant men. So they fear now that they cannot, that fear that they're not gonna get that land, because those men, they're too big to try to defeat to get the land. And God said, that's it. That was the straw that break the camel's back, right? Because God is saying, you ungrateful people, look at what you guys had witnessed my power in Egypt to free you. I brought on plagues on those Egyptians. I part the Red Sea for you guys to cross over. I provide manna from the earth for you guys to eat. And you're still doubting me? You still doubting me? That's it. Because for all of that God saved them from, and they witnessed the hand of God. Mostly so when he part the sea. And they're doubting about few men with bigger muscles, thinking that their God can come through for them in such times like this. Because at the end of the day, what the scripture is saying is that God did not give us a power, did not give us a spirit of fear, but a spirit of power, love, and sound mind. So we're going to have to make use of that power, the love, and of sound mind, and use those things to defeat anything. Meaning that, just look at David. It was, he was so brave and confident standing up against that giant Goliath, because he know the power he holds inside is not his power, and he knows what God can do. So he was mighty and confident because it was his God power lives in him that he's going to use to defeat Goliath, because he believe and trust and have faith in God, that Goliath is nothing to God. That is why David said, who is this uncircumcised Philistine should try to defeat the army of a living God? Egyptian worship false God, and their false God cannot do anything for them to save them. But David God is a living God. So the Philistine cannot define the army of God, because God is a living God. And they are uncircumcised Philistine, meaning that they don't have anything to that is protected. They're not in covenant. They don't have any blessing over them, so they're uncircumcised. So that is the power of God that was in David that helped him to defeat. We don't have any power. So that is what God is saying, that he gave us a spirit of power. And another way we can use the spirit of power that God gave us instead of spirit of fear. If there's people out there who's great at prayer, use that power of God and be a prayer warrior for your family, for your neighbors, for your community, for your country, for the world. And get praying buddies. And you guys, where the Bible says, where there's more than one gathered together, whatever you believe for, you gather together in prayer. So if 3 or 4 you come together and believe for something you're praying for, God will manifest it. These are how we can manifest things in our life. This is what it means by the spirit of power. We all have power inside of us, greatness inside of us. Whatever you use it to do, to be talented and skillful in whatever you do, that is God's power. That is what he gave us, to use it to manifest and glorify him. That it is his power cause us to be great at whatever it is. And that is what the power guys should turn to God and trust in him, that he's going to protect you and your family from this corona COVID-19, that you're protected. That's the power of God lives in you, that you believe that this too shall pass and that it won't touch you. You understand? And he gave us a power, a spirit of love that we have inside, to love him, love ourselves, and love others, and share love and compassion, and a spirit of sound mind, to understand that we are nothing without God, and understand that the power that we hold in him, it belongs in us, is his, and of sound mind, to be conscious of where it is we're going and what we want, and that be conscious to turn to God, and conscious in our decision that we make in our everyday lives, and be one with each other. I'm not going to talk some more anymore on that. I'm just going to just explain to you guys. So that is why God gave up on his children, that Moses free from Egypt. For it was the power of God that Moses is just a normal man. When he stretched his arm out there with the staff across the sea and he parted, it had nothing to do with it, but it is his faith. He just put it over there, and that is what activated God. God just wants us to see that God is just waiting for us to have faith in him, make a move, and that is what activated God. It's as if you push God button and God see that you have faith in him. And that's what Moses did. He prayed, because Moses realized that there's no, the people are crying out for help that the Philistine is coming, the Egyptians is coming for them, and they're at the sea. And Moses prayed, and he just stretched the rod. He didn't even know what God was gonna do, and God parted the sea. So we have to have faith and use the power and go to God for whatever it is you want, and then God know will activate whatever it is that you have, that you go to Him with for for help. It can be done. So God pissed off that these people witness him part the sea and all these plagues, his power, that he flexed his muscle and showed his children, and they were still ungrateful, worrying about the food that they, the manna every day, and they still doubting that. Look at God part the sea. God bring 10 plagues on the Egyptians, and they're fussing about men with muscle, thinking that God can get rid of few men with muscles. All they had to do is just as I would say, if it was me now, oh, just like a child would boast on their daddy. Or if they have a bad uncle and they go at school and say, anyhow, no trouble me. Me complain about me to my uncle, make him come beat me up. And you feel bossy, yeah, because, yeah, well, it's the same thing. God wanted these, come on, phone. God wanted his children to say, these men with muscles are nothing, can compete with our God. Look at what our daddy God did. He part the sea. He bring on plagues, and then so let's go fight those men, because we have the power of God in us to help us win that battle, and that is what God wanted. And they didn't say that, so God left them in the wilderness for 40 years, ages from 20 up. God let them wander in the wilderness and die out, and just take the children who were under 20 years old, and they're the ones who get to live on the land that was promised. So we are to have faith in God. God, when we believe in God, the power that's in us, God will defeat and destroy any mountain. The faith of mustard seed can move any mountain of the way. When we put God first in what we're doing. Where's my Let's go there. Thought I put it there. So forget who never forget where the Lord had taken you from. The same God that was yesterday, same God today. The same God who lead those children out of Egypt from slavery. And remember your faith in God, whatever God done for you a few years back. Trust in Him that He'll come true for you today. Don't doubt and worry, because this too shall pass. Trust in Him. Because when we lose faith in God, God will leave us in the wilderness to rot. Faith without works is dead, and this is how you put works to your faith. Don't just sit and say, oh, I have faith. Put action to it, and God will see. This is where I'm going to go right now. So my children, let's fight Corona. Where is my gun? Yeah. Corona, who that? I tell you, man, my gun that, Dancy D say, Corona can't come near me, what I talk about. Anyway, that's it. Well, good, my children, I still have a couple of videos I made from in December that I'm going to soon send out, and I have more videos from my journey that I'm going to still send out, and I have few videos lined up, and I'm still working on my project behind the scene and still setting up things for, but in the meantime, I'm still checking on my Facebook friends out there and send you a few little messages when the Spirit of God speaks to me to say, share this. Thanks for the support, and keep good and let God protect you. We get through this Corona thing. And I got reading message that few people in China been healed, and stuff like that is going on. It's not so bad after all. Ta-ta, you all. Okay. I am a fashion designer, so I can fashion up myself and how I so please. Ta-ta.